Welcome back to game number 4 at the NAL. Playday 3, week 2. Playday 3. It's week 2.
You got it.
Did you see her? She didn't. Playday 3.
Hey, they didn't see me because, this
True,
is playing.
true.
But Janiro, that's me. And we are having a great time over here. The games have been banger. Some have been one-sided, some haven't. But hopefully this one is going to be another one of the closer ones because it's Envy going up against Standby LFO.
Yeah, I mean, we'd like to hope so. I mean, Envy, hopefully they're staying on the train of, being at the top, looking very dominant as they have, and bringing on Aiden's only been a positive for them so far. And Standby, I mean, even though they've really gone through a gauntlet of top 4 teams at the moment, they did make it very close. 7-5, 7-4, they kept it within the realm. So, this matchup will be a lot closer than it looks like on paper. So we just want to see, both of these teams stay a little bit more consistent in their rise to, that top 6 playoffs battle.
I mean, Envy started the day as well at the top when it comes to the leaderboard, so they have been locked in, but it's a question of consistency. It's a question of, is this just like the honeymoon period that we're seeing, or can they bring this out every single play day?
Yeah, there's still some question marks to be had, but, I don't want to take anything away from this team. Clearly, the time apart of not being able to make EWC, making a roster change, being able to play fundamentally, and also double scrimming clearly is paying dividends in terms of their overall success. But again, I don't think they've really been tested yet in terms of their opponent. So there's still those question marks. But again, I don't want to take anything away from their performance so far.
Yeah, either way, the way that they have been executing these games and the fact that they have been able to get 2 wins back-to-back really highlights the discipline that we're seeing, and just the fact that they've gotten that execution better under their belt since stage 1.
Yeah, absolutely. And Jenny, I have been a huge person
Hater.
that has absolutely gone against them and critiqued them every step of the way through. It's nice this time around because, again, what you said, their discipline is there. Clearly, they understand the win condition. They know how to play these post plans. They do a 3-2-1 pinch here to be able to go for this frag and make sure that this round goes in their favor. As you see, a beautifully well orchestrated 1-2-3 here coming out, making sure that they secure the round. But then we talk about the execution side of things. The last round, they understand no one is in sight. They did do their due diligence of making sure that they droned out everything they need to. The position is able to be taken. They go for that plant. But this is where, again, we exercise the discipline. Nobody is moving on the side of Envy. They are all playing their crossfires. They are all playing their position. No one is getting overzealous. No one's trying to make a hero play. No one's trying to get flashy. They just understand, let's close out this game. Let's not do anything to try to make this go push into an overtime. And they execute it flawlessly. And this is something from time and time that we saw from the previous stage, that they would get overzealous. They would lose control. They would try to make a play they didn't need to. They made more things complicated than they had to be. But this time around, Envy is looking far more disciplined, and their execute is far more concise.
Well, damn, that was a hell of a pitch. You sold me on Envy. I'll give you that.
That's my job.
Hey, they're going to be going up against Standby LFO. And this roster, as you already touched upon, they haven't necessarily won a game, but they did make them close affairs. And they have been trialed by fire as well in that first week of the NAL, going up against some of the top dogs in the league.
Yeah, it was 2 very difficult games, and they brought a lot to play in their first matchup against SSG. But the biggest issue is when they go to the same map of Cafe twice and then do the exact same thing against M80. M80 also played Cafe twice, and there was so many instances where M80 was playing in the exact same position, and Standby never took advantage of that. And that was the biggest issue that stood out for me, is the preparation, going through the VODs, checking everything, and seeing where you can exploit the team that you're playing against. That wasn't there. It wasn't showing up. So it did go to a 7-4, but it felt like they were just doing the same strats that they did against SSG for no reason. Look at this round. I mean, they look down the holes, shots are coming down from Monty, and then Fens is just walking into the exact same angle, completely oblivious to where the shots came from. It just looked like there wasn't rhyme or reason to why they were doing strats. It was just the exact same strategies that they showed against SSG that almost got them that win. So there wasn't much change, there wasn't much development in the preparation of knowing their opponent. And since that's been the talk of the day, I mean, that's something that I want to see Standby do now that they've had a little bit more time to prepare for Envy. And it's not necessarily one of the top 4 teams. I mean, statistically they are, but not, historied. So obviously they have the time. Hopefully we can see them correct those mistakes, and hopefully they don't go to Cafe again.
Yeah, I mean,
We'll have to see.
I hope it's not Cafe, because just for the simple fact, like Fox just said, they had all the time in the world to do the VOD review. We even talked about it prior to going into that matchup. Are they going to learn from their mistakes? Are they going to see what they can exploit? Nothing really changed, just like you said. So I do really hope Cafe does get removed. Now, granted, they do have the upper hand over Envy. They did beat them 7-3 in Clubhouse last stage. So at least in that aspect, in that mindset, they got to feel comfortable going against a team like Envy. But again, when you're looking at how Envy has been playing, this isn't
Hold
the
the phone.
exact same
Hold the phone.
Envy.
Hold the phone.
Okay.
Okay.
Call
Thank
standby.
you. So this is going to be, you know, a map. I would say neither team realistically is great on any maps given their last stage. So I'm not putting too much hope in any map side that comes out. We have to see the performance base being displayed here, especially on a map like Bank. And given how Standby has played, they have been well working together. They have been not so much disjointed that I would say that we've seen in the last stage. But again, like you're talking about, going in with strats that really just seems that they're just kind of just playing to play almost in a sense, needs to be completely tightened up here on a map like Bank, where it's a lot bigger of a map to work with. So that involves a lot more moving pieces, especially when you're on that attacking side.
My biggest issue with Bank for standby is the fact that sometimes it gets to these executes where you have to keep track of utility. You have to keep track of your time. And that's something that I don't think standby is just there yet, specifically what we saw from Cafe. I mean, that's a map when you're going for those executes, you have to worry about the time. So I feel like standby could get burnt out very quickly in this matchup. And Envy is just, in my opinion right now, looking like such a solid team. They have great communication. So when it comes to a map that both teams haven't really played too much of, in my opinion, Envy really is in the driver's seat to be able to maintain that level of aggression, maintain that time management.
I agree, and I think the bigger issue also with going to Bank as well from the side of Standby is they lost it pretty convincingly both to SSG and both to SR. They got dominated on that last stage where, again, they looked very lost. They didn't know how to handle aggression, and the way that Envy has been playing has been very aggressive. So if they can just learn how to tame that, which based off their last performance against SSG, they should be able to do it. But again, they have to be in unison here, especially on a big map like Bank.
So when it comes to predictions then, so far I've guessed all of them correctly in terms of like what you guys are going for. I guess you're both going for Envy once again.
Sure are. I mean,
Yeah.
I think the confidence, the momentum is something that you can't stop behind the team. They're 2-0 right now. They're going up against a team that arguably is equivalent in skill. And in my opinion, I feel like the energy that Aiden has brought to the team has only put them in a position to perform stronger.
Yeah, and I think just riding that high, like you said,
Yeah.
coming off of 2 wins after a very lackluster performance of a last stage, I think you just can't stop that momentum here. And again, for Standby, you really have to be on top of your game because Envy has completely elevated their style in comparison to what Standby has done.
Yeah, we're going to have to see whether the level up is going to come through from Standby as well today, as they're going to be heading up against Envy, the team that is currently at the top of the leaderboard. We're going to be heading over to Bank, not Cafe, for this one with Jesse and Intero.
Well, greatly appreciated. Yeah, I mean, just hearing that phrase, Janiro, is so bizarre, right? Envy at the top of the standings. Admittedly, no longer at the top, but not their fault, Jesse. It's been because there are other matches that have occurred that have just pushed them down. Going up against Standby and LFO, though, 3 points are on the table for Envy. What do you think's possible? Do you think we're going to see Envy slaughter them? Do you think Envy's reign of terror will continue?
Well, Parker, right now we've got an orgless team going up against the greatest team North America has ever produced. At least that's what I've been hearing, and I only follow JJ Blast on social media. So we'll have to find out, Parker, how it's going to go in the end between these two teams. I will say the last time they met in Stage 1, Standby LFO did walk away with the victory. However, since that win over Envy, Standby have lost every single game they have played. So, will Envy be the team to break their curse once again and get them back on a winning track, or have Envy evolved just too far? We'll have to find out. Operator bans, certainly an interesting sight. Now, last time we were here, just a couple of minutes ago, we saw multiple ranged hard breach bans with both Ace and Habana being taken out for M80 and for Wildcard. Standby are going to take a different route. They will be banning out both shields, Monty and Blitz, to force JJ Blast onto a gun, even if that gun is held by Blackbeard. We'll have to see how this goes for them because MB can be an incredible shield team.
Aiden is the player that I'm going to be keeping my eyes on. Aiden Tax being added to this roster as a very highly coveted player, had a great first game, and honestly is, even with sky high expectations, has played very well. I don't think subbing out Twist for Aiden is going to fix all of Envy's issues, but the progress that they've made with a new player making a Tier 1 debut is, frankly, quite impressive. I'm not sure what they're able to get out of him, but this is going to be an interesting game because you've got two teams that, based on expectations from stage 1, probably should be towards the bottom of the standings. That's not the case, though. Obviously, Standby is towards the bottom of the standings. They are in 9th place to start this off. But you've got Envy, who are still clinging to that 2nd place spot, but based on historical results, seem to be exceeding right now expectations. Could there possibly be a change, some regression here? Will we see Envy come back down to earth? I'm going to keep my eyes on Aiden and Snake. If they struggle to frag well, I do worry about Envy's chances.
Well, for now, it is a more or less full anchor setup from Standby in the basement. Kixro is playing towards open area, as is Fens, but generally that means you're going to shoot a drone or two and then fall right back down through the hatches. So I don't expect any early gunfights to come out between these two teams. You never know, though. Fen's still in open area and will be the first one to hear this Blackbeard of JJ Blast start to make a move. Fens was the best player the last time these two teams met, going 12-4 just in that game. And here's a rat spot from Kixro. Does that Dokkaebi call give him away? Well, the drone will no matter what. So this guy is in trouble.
Nope, C1. But he is living on borrowed time as Kixro pops up. Multiple silhouettes. Nades hucked in, my goodness. They've thrown everything, including the kitchen sink at him. And it's our good friend JJ Blast to get the very first pick, eliminating the Fenrir upstairs with just a bit more than a minute left in the round.
Chucked 3 nades at him. They were getting that kill one way or another. Now with a man advantage and lots of time to go for this push, I like what Envy have done to set themselves up. They're going to have to deal with a lot of site pressure, 2 nitro cells, a bunch of Tachanka fire, and Eddie lurking in towards Vault. They've got to worry about all of these threats as they go for their execute, but they have so much util of their own. Smokes on Aiden, flashes on Emilio, a logic bomb still, and a shield, and sends walls. They've got everything that they need to make this push work.
We'll try to freeze him out. That Zoyo canister, or the Zoyo rather, Zoto canister tossed out. I merged Goyo and Ubrow. It happens from time to time. You know, just a small little slip of the tongue. Now it's the Blackbeard of JJ Blast looking for more. He's had quite a sensational start to the stage. Envy racking him up. Eddie the only kill on the side of Standby, and it's Aiden to die. Candela will go off. Eddie will lose sight, but before that happens, Emilio seals the deal. Envy just cannot stop their winning ways. And was that a laxing jersey I saw on the bed of JJ Blast? What do you think he's doing with that thing there?
Fan behavior, if you ask me, but it's okay. We'll let him thrive. Good push overall. Get the man advantage, go in with all guns blazing. I was a little bit worried that they were going for a back push. You know, I thought the server push could have gone just fine, but I think once they saw how many C4s there were and the Tachanka as well, they just decided it would be easier to hit the back, and they had the gap. So in the end, it went perfectly fine for them. Great play by JJ on the shield. Standby, you can ban 2 of them, but it's going to take you a couple of rounds before you can remove that final shield off the board. And even then, there will be shield-like alternatives, including Osa and Fuse Shield, which I guess counts as a shield as well. And so no matter what it takes, JJ Blast will do anything to avoid playing with a standard gun. But it's what he does best, Parker, and as the single best attacking player from the NAL Week 1, I'll let him play whatever ops he wants to.
We're starting to see some more Denari, whose pick rate has steadily increased. Do you think this is just teams figuring out the operator? Do you think it's maybe more map specific, as we have seen a fair bit of him on Bank now?
It's honestly so hard to tell. I still feel like it's an operator that will be situational at best, but teams are finding a lot of those situations here on Bank. We saw from Wildcard in our last game and now Standby in this game. So I won't make a prediction, Parker. I'm just excited to kind of see how this operator's pick rate and win rate evolves, because it's certainly a creative op, and it would be great, I think, for the game if it did end up being particularly powerful.
I do like Flores as an operator on this map. Any kind of soft destruction he excels at immensely. For those of you that like to play this game just on your own, I find that Flores is also an excellent solo operator. If you don't want to really communicate with your teammates, which, let's be honest, if you're playing any type of ranked game of Rainbow Six Siege, you should probably be using your microphone, or else you're kind of soft inting. Go play like quick play or something like that if you don't want to talk and just listen to music. But if you want to play selfishly, your teammates aren't really responding, whatever. Flores is a great solo carry op. So is Capitao. You can do an awful lot. You've got the scouting from the drones. You've got explosives you can follow up on. The kit that comes with Flores is great. You can find your own way into a bomb site. You can clear out utility for your teammates if you want to help them, if they are in need of help. I think he's a terrific operator. And obviously on a map like this, he lines up really, really well. Osa's also a great solo op. I know you get quite critical of Osa as an operator on Bank. JJ Blast is using the operator tremendously. Look at that. Aiden and Snake gunning down Kixrow and Eddie. Standby torn to pieces now as Epic will emerge from that paper cave looking towards the diffuser. Bino finished off. Epic also dropped. And it's Fens in a 1v5. It's always up to these individual heroics. Fens finds rival, but that's about it. Envy off to a strong 2-0 start.
Well, Parker, it was just as you were talking about the strength of Flores as a solo operator that he ended up somewhat trolling his team, destroying the Sens wall in the site. But in the end, it didn't matter. The cover was really strong from MB, particularly from Aiden, watching over that plant as it went down. And with the Osa shield as well, I have no problems with that. I think this is by far Osa's best map. And that's one where it can be really tough sometimes, too, to get explosives all the way onto the Osa shield. Tossing them from Janitor can be quite a distance, and there will be players on that window to shut it down. So I thought MB played that push really nicely. They made sure nobody was down below so they could go for that plant in with the Osa, and they had no issues whatsoever. Again, maybe a little sloppy with a little bit of the utility with the Flores doing a bit of team damage, but in the end, it really did not matter. It was too strong of an execute from MB to pull off, and if you're standby, you go down now 0-2 on your bank defenses. We talked in our last game about how this map can certainly be pretty 50-50, but any map that you're playing defense on, you kind of want to start with a win, right? Because presumably you're going to start with what you think the strongest bomb sites are. And also, when you start the map, all of your strats are unknown, right? Unless you've played this map quite a bit previously, which Standby did play it twice in stage 1. They lost 7-2, 7-2 to Shopify and Space Station. So maybe a bit of history there, but in general, I think the early rounds should favor the defenders in a game like Siege, and we just haven't seen that so far between Standby and Envy.
Circumstances surrounding this Standby team, who was LFO/Orgless in the previous stage, are obviously not ideal, and it's a shame that they haven't been able to find a proper organization. I mean, the team is clearly talented, and they obviously trust each other. They made no roster moves in the offseason. Unfortunately, this is a rough start against a team that is, at least through 2 rounds, looking like the real deal. Envy firing on all cylinders. Standby only able to muster a single kill in both of those rounds. That's just not going to get the job done, especially on a map like Bank that allows you a lot of fragging potential as defenders.
Another round where we go back to the basement, and Standby haven't changed a whole lot. They do have Fens on the Echo, which is kind of interesting, but they won't be pulling a wild card and going for some wild roams up on the top floor. I saw a tweet after the last game saying, wow, EU and NA play Bank so differently, because EU just play in the site and NA roams around like crazy, but it's like, I feel like that's more of a wild card thing than an NA thing. You can see that, at least as far as Standby are concerned, they will play a much more traditional Bank basement defense where they play most of their players in the site. Slight extension, but it's all fallen off at this point. Will they be more prepared for a back hit? And will there even be a back hit this time around? Envy have the opportunity to switch up their push once again and then use these Sens walls to drop into server and get a plant. Because the Sens walls cover the entire bomb site, it can be really hard to know where plant is going down in a push like that, and thus really hard to deny.
One perk to those DMRs as to why we've seen them so much, I guess more, is just that the caliber-based destruction is excellent. You see them tear through hatches very quickly, they can destroy walls, and caliber-based destruction really is the base. That really is the name of the game here, especially on a map like Bank. And he's been chased off his position now on blue stairs as there's the Blackbeard. Aiden dies. JJ Blast will get the revenge, but at what cost? You've lost your logic bombs, 30 seconds left. You've lost the Dokkaebi. Eddie off of blue stairs means that you can hit this bomb site with a bit more reliability. Epic is holding this drop now. Sight trained in that direction. Yokai drones will go up as well. Fire lingers in front. Envy has so much trying to slow them down, and yet JJ has found a way to get that diffuser planted. No! He gets killed by a Nitro Cell at the last second. Epic living up to his name, and it's thrown Envy into a tailspin. A desperate attempt to collect the diffuser leaves all of them dead, and the clock will hand the round to Standby. What a Nitro by Epic.
Absolutely ridiculous Nitro, going all the way from garage. That's kind of a long angle throw. They realized just at the last moment where the plant was happening. I guess it wasn't so long. On a default plant, it would be, but it was right on the doorway to the hall, over towards garage. That's a plant spot that is not unheard of, but is extremely uncommon and is largely only possible due to those Sens walls. I mentioned it right before the push came through, but when you go for a push like that, it becomes very difficult to deny the plant because you just don't know where it's going down. Thankfully, on the side of Envy, they had a Yokai drone inside the site. And so while Fens was inside the site, one thing he didn't see was a plant going down. He saw fire being exploded, he saw some other attackers, but he didn't see the plant being dropped. And eventually, they were able to deduce on Standby where the plant was ending up on the floor. And by the skin of his teeth, they were able to deny it from Epic. Really good Nitro to deny that. They still call a tack timeout after a round win. This is Standby's tack timeout, so maybe feeling that first quarter didn't really go the way they wanted it to.
I mean, there's obviously some problems even with the victory. Maybe they just think that there are greater issues at play here. If it wasn't for the timing of that Nitro Cell, and obviously I don't want to be a naysayer, but was that timed by Epic so that it would immediately go off right as the diffuse was almost planted, or was that just good luck? If that Nitro Cell is half a second too late, you are looking at a completely different round. Post plant doesn't really work out the way you want. You don't see Envy then thrust into this unwinnable position where they all have to pile into the bomb site in a desperate attempt to grab the diffuser to keep the round going. I don't know. I mean, obviously you're not going to win rounds off of plays like that with any reliability. I think Standby knows that, and I don't hate the timeout. Frankly, I do not hate the timing of that timeout. And very obviously, communication issues that Standby has to work on. Through these 3 rounds, it just looks like they're not quite in lockstep with each other. That's another thing that a timeout can try to accomplish. It's not always about strategizing. It's not always about, you need to be here next round. Hey, we need to do this. Let's run this play. Sometimes it's about, you guys are shaking. You guys are not playing off of each other. I need better comms. I need more coordination. I need you trading each other out. You're just playing like individuals. Let's fix that. Sometimes when players are in the heat of the moment, they forget these things. And it's always nice to kind of have that sober second thought that a coach provides to say, let's focus on the fundamentals. Fundamentals win you games.
Don't disagree either, Parker. I think that's absolutely valid. Could be a 3-0 for Envy here, so Standby will need to get things back in order in the second quarter. Part of the reason, or part of the way they'll do that, is by panning out the Blackbeard. So no more shields for JJ Blast unless he wants to get crazy with a little bit of fuse. Instead, he just says he doesn't need the shields. It's going to be the Ying play for their first attack onto open area. Good information inside the lobby. Top floor will, of course, be the focus for the clear, and Eddie inside a janitor might be the biggest problem. He likely has the hatch open for him to drop through once he feels he's wasted enough time, but he will be the first line of defense, and he absolutely could choose to fight here with his life. Toxic Babes will allow him to do just that, and the shotgun close range is very, very good.
There go the Candelas, now the hop in. The Reaper in hand for the Ying of JJ Blast, as its buff has now turned it into a pseudo primary, which is what has allowed all these shotguns to work. Sledge, Pulse, and Ying now swapping to shotguns more often than not because of that secondary sidearm, which is quite nice to see. I do like diversity, is the spice of life. Envy seemingly uncontested now on this top floor, Jesse, as we are halfway through this round, and they've cleared it all out. Next step, get down the actual bomb site.
Yeah, they did have to waste a good bit of util to clear that top floor. Both smokes from JJ and 2 of his Candelas. Now, they still have smokes on Snake, and they still have some Candelas for JJ too. So it's not the end of the world, but it does make me a little bit worried about what they'll have for this execute. Looks like it's going to be a classic stock drop. There is still time to rotate square, but without any good hard breach, no ace or anything, I can't imagine that's going to be their best option. JJ's actually rotated a lobby, so they might just be walking in through the elevator hallway. Regardless, they have plenty of options, and this rotate with most of their team now here in the hall could be unexpected.
There go Candelas yet again. JJ just working his way through this map as he now looks to clear out the stairs. Barbed wire aplenty will herald the return to the site of any of these defenders. Envy's got themselves in good position to hold down the return to the site. But what about the actual bomb site? JJ needs to wait out the flames of the Goyo canister. Last Candela in hand, and he'll just trudge through it all. Toying with taking some of that damage. Epic will trade out. As right now, it's Standby winning in terms of kills. JJ thinks he has safety, but he hears something towards small office. Firing away, missing a golden opportunity. His gun just shooting peanuts. Once again, kills in the timer will go in favor of Standby. The timeout working quite well. And a tie game off the backs of a bit of a slow and sloppy round by Envy.
I believe JJ Blast did not blind a single person with his Candelas that round, and he did use all 4 of them, 2 on the roam clear, 2 on the execute. So maybe banning out all of his shields, forcing him on this operator was the right call from Standby. Either way, that push, I think, just a little bit slow, a little distracted. They were really worried about a player in stock, but nobody was there. They were really worried about a player main stairs, and somebody was there, but they didn't come until it was too late and the angle was no longer being watched. JJ even so hesitant just to put the defuse kit down when he's got some players around him that can cover. I guess with the Toxic Babes, it was the right call in the end, but just not really focused on getting to the site and getting the defuse kit on the ground fast enough. It's going to give Standby that second round, and strong passive defensive play from them. You know, I was theorizing, okay, are we going to see Eddie play that top floor, play in the janitor, play for his life? He ended up not doing so, and I think that was the right call because his Toxic Babes ended up being a big part of the reason why MB had to go so slow in that push, why they were so scared of what could be lurking inside of open area, and, well, in the end, the time really was what got the better of MB.
Need to be a little bit quicker here. It honestly looks like Standby just started a bit sluggish, frankly. They needed some time to find themselves and find the map, and now they've done just that. And it's blanked Envy. A funny little quirk of the last 2 rounds. Emilio has yet to die, despite the fact that Standby have won 2 rounds, and that's because if you're an attacker, you could just wait out the clock. You could sit and spawn for 6 minutes and go 2 rounds without dying, but your team's probably gonna lose. So Emilio's been able to get himself into safe spots, but I guess the writing's been on the wall to the point where why bother hurting your own stats if you're not going to be able to change the course of the round, especially when there's only a couple seconds left for you to wait out. Emilio playing on a support role, admittedly not the person with the defuse kit, means that he's likely going to be out of harm's way for most of these rounds, or at least he should be.
I wouldn't mind seeing Emilio maybe go for some of these more late round plays, though. He was the second most clutch player in the stage 1, winning 23% of his clutches. Hasn't needed to clutch so far, so yet to find his first in stage 2, but he is a player that can be absolutely phenomenal in the late round if the situation is presented to him. Fenn's down inside of server. That could be a problem for them late round. Rival is down there, and of course, if Fens gets his nitro, he could deny this plant from JJ from down below. It's the same strategy from Envy, so it's quite predictable, and you have to imagine Standby will have talked about how they're going to counter this Osa push in through the square wall. In either case, Envy will try to set it up.
That's a precarious vault by Snake. I know that they droned it out. I know they had a safe spot, but time and time again, I see teams attempt that, and I'm always a little bit worried. Now JJ Blast will fade out a nitro cell, lose one of those Talon shields. Does not appear that there's one in back pocket, so no attempt. This one will just be dry. Bino and Eddie both felled by Snake, who's on a mission of his own after he hopped into that trading window. Fens will now cover that spot, marching up the hallway towards the vending machines, and he might have a good look at Square, where now Emilio is posted up behind the second Talon shield that had been put down by JJ earlier in the round. Ends will come to blows, though, with Snake, who is right now just unstoppable. An ace denied by Rival getting on the score sheet. Aiden cut down by Kixro. Now Emilio will find his first death. Oh my goodness, Kixro out of nowhere with 3 kills. 2 more to be found, pushed out of his position by the nade, shrugging off a bunch of damage. Attention over towards conference table as the 2 remaining players from Envy will search for the final kill. Tuberau at Kixro. Over by Split, will hit the ground now. Back over towards the window out on Banana. Vault over by the Buck. Almost got the kill, but Envy will seal the deal and win a scary one. The last 3 rounds have been, what? 2 losses based on time, and then a bruising close contest right now. These have not been great looks for Envy, and even though they won that round, it's still not exactly confidence-inspiring.
Yeah, it's a bold play in the end there from the Bucks to be able to shut down the last player, deny the clutch from Kixro. In the end, it does work off, though, and it really does come off as such a brilliant play by Snake, right? We saw how good he was in the stage opener up against Cruelty. He was the best player in the North America League on play day number 1. On play day number 2, Snake was the worst player on Envy, at least statistically. Now, they still won that game. I don't think being the worst player, it wasn't even that bad of a stat line is such a big deal, but even still, it shows that Snake can be a bit inconsistent at times. When he's on, he is absolutely fantastic, and that 3K is what helped Envy get across the line in round number 5. So credit where credit is due, but I'm a little bit worried for how that might sustain itself as this game continues forward. Part of the reason, if I can just take an opportunity to hate on Osa very quickly, part of the reason I don't love this operator is because of what we saw where the Nitro goes out, and yes, maybe JJ pulls off, but then his cover is completely gone. If you do that, I don't know, say with a Blackbeard shield on your back, you take your cover with you. In this game, though, Blackbeard and Monty and Blitz are all banned, though, so I can't even really use that as an excuse. I think it's fine. This team had good cover anyways, so it is all water under the bridge.
Pretty sharp deploy.
I'm seeing a lot of Tachanka today, and I gotta say, I've actually been enjoying the way most of these teams have been using this operator. Obviously, Tachanka is a poor substitute for a Smoke. Smoke is still the king of defense, but the Lord's the Lord. And when you've got that LMG in hand, it does good damage. The fire rate's not particularly great. It does hit pretty hard, and it tears through walls and hatches, allowing you, even though it's not a shotgun, to do site construction pretty quickly. And if that Tachanka can play in a safe role, far enough removed from action, that Shamika launcher is not bad at holding down certain areas. As we've seen, though, from attackers, they can just truck on through it, taking damage in the process, which makes him a little bit less applicable than a Smoker or Goyo, but still able to do a job that is desperately needed by a defender. I would maybe like to see him a bit stronger in the meta, but that's a conversation for another day.
Desachu and Hot and Cold had a bit of a fun conversation on Twitter about this operator in this position the other day, and right after this game ended, Houghton went to Twitter and said, because of this conversation, I was sweating bullets when I had to play Tachanka in that role, because Des was talking about how this is often an operator that misses their fire, right? Fails to deny a plant, and then Hot and Cold says, no, it can be good, and then he has to do it, so nervous about missing it. We'll see if Bino can land his fire as this push is soon to enter. Candles will fly and smokes, prompting a push from JJ Blast. They've got 65 seconds to work with, so the first Candela is just a bit of a bait, but these ones should be real.
Now all the smoke's going off, still plenty of utility for Rivals Capitao. Those flames can do some serious work. Emilio dies at the hands of Epic. Those DMRs just shred you, and Emilio unfortunately finds that out the hard way. Now it's Snake taking a bucket's worth of damage. Rivals still got you so much utility, but he and the Ying of JJ just don't really know where to put it. First Candela is going to go down. Right amidst the push, and immediately JJ dies. First Candela, of course, of that actual push. Standby is doing as their name suggests. They're just standing by and waiting as Envy pushes into the site and dies one by one by one. Both those fire arrows now expended by Rival as a drop will get missed by Eddie, allowing attackers to gain control of the site. The Capitao Rival still upstairs, still watching it. Aiden taking some damage. He doesn't have the case he thought he did. Eddie's been dropped. Now some salvation for Envy as they're past the point of no return. Anybody shuts down Aiden, and that's curtains on the round. The Tachanka will do it. Oh my goodness, some prayers being said on the side of Standby, and the Lord Tachanka answers them. Huge round from Standby, and what a first half as both of these teams are unable to shake each other.
Send that round to Dezachu right now. Right now, get it in his inbox. The power of Tachanka to deny the plant. Perfectly played in the end by Bino, but felt like from the very start, that push was kind of a lost cause. Both times that we've seen Envy attack that bomb site, they have had Rival bring the Sens. And Sens is extremely strong for that bomb site because you can block off the sight lines from the Lockers side, from Gold. And the best thing about Sens is Warden can't see through the Sens walls. But then when Rival decides, I'm done with the Sens, I'm going to go play Capitao instead, well, the Warden sees right through all of that. And it doesn't matter how many Candelas you have, Warden does what Warden does. Good trade by Rival in the end, but that is too little and too late. Way too many players alive on the defense, way too much Tachanka fire to stop that plant as it comes down. So curious that Envy swapped off that operator. Obviously, it didn't work the last time that they were going for that push, but still felt like it would have been the key to win it. In the end, not something that you can dwell on because they've got their own basement defense to win. And unlike boring old Standby, who will play 5 players in the basement every time, Envy are going to run this with the scope host, which means they are probably going a little more aggressive.
It's been a while since we've seen a proper scope host. Bank's obviously a huge map. Might even be the biggest. Well, no, I think Layer is technically bigger. I want, and I have said this on many, many broadcasts, I want the floor plans. I want to know the square footage of these maps. I want to know which ones are actually the biggest.
I'm sure you can figure this out. You got a custom
I'm
game.
sure I could, but why would I do all of that work when I'm sure Ubisoft already has that work done? They can just give it to me.
Well, Parker, sometimes things are better if you work for them. Maybe you'll appreciate more the square footage of Bank if you go through your custom games and measure it yourself.
That's way too much work. So Ubisoft, if you're listening, if you can just send me that data, that'd be terrific. That'd be terrific. I'd really appreciate that, genuinely. But what I was going to say is that Scopos really excels on big maps, right? We see Scopos actually quite a lot on Layer as well because you can tuck that operator into a place where you don't think they're going to drone. This happens on Clubhouse too sometimes, though teams have started full clearing Clubhouse again, which is good to see. And then just have that second robot activate, and it's a great way to flank. Obviously, Dokkaebi can be a bit of a hindrance, a bit of a nuisance here, as Snake has just found out. Bino is inside the bomb site, and he is just making a break for it. Knocks over the Echo, down goes JJ Blast. And right now, full control for Standby. They are not missing whatsoever. They'll lock out these Envy players, or hope that's the case, as Envy was fully roaming upstairs. Great read by Standby. They see how off-site Envy's forces are and immediately push the point. Terrific play by Standby. Great read, great calling, and now their return to the bomb site is going to be slowed down by a logic bomb used by Standby too. All this utility saved from not needing to roam clear allows Standby to use this in the post plant. And there's been next to no action. Epic and Kickstro finally getting kills on the board. Eddie with one as well. Aiden is just playing on borrowed time as the timer will keep ticking down, irrespective of what he does. Really masterfully read by Standby. But a question needs to be asked. How was the roam so far afield and disconnected from the bomb site that you allowed Standby to do that? And that's a question that Envy will need to answer.
Yeah, JJ getting really run over by the Blitz, who I love the way Bino played that. He was able to get into the hallway through the rotate that defenders usually use and then find himself in this spot, 1v1ing as a Blitz, the only player that was inside the site, as you said, Parker. And then they just didn't really have great angles back into the site. They tried to drop the hatch, but by the time they were there, it was already too fast, the control that Standby had. You got to give a lot of credit, not just to their fast push in through Dirt Tunnel, but also the garage control that they took extremely early. When there's defenders inside garage, now all of a sudden rotating down main stairs becomes really difficult. The hatches become impossible to drop through. You're basically just left with maybe the gold hatch and elevator hatches, plus the server stairs try to get back through in terms of safety. Snake also could have teleported back into the site using his other Scopos body. That wasn't actually destroyed, but I think in the chaos just doesn't really occur to him. Plus, that's such a risky maneuver, putting yourself down in the Viper's pit of all those attackers and you don't know where they are. It wasn't until quite late where he tried to go for something like that. So in the end, really nice execute from Standby. They start off with a strong first round, and Parker, it seems like we might be seeing Envy's biggest problem is Standby are looking to repeat stage 1's results and get their first win on the board of stage 2.
Standby were due. At some point, they needed to persevere. At least with this roster, I just did not see them playing to the level that they were playing at. I don't think they're that far off some of these other, basement-dwelling teams that exist in NA right now. There is obviously a very clear cut between the top and the bottom. Envy does have their work cut out for them, though, and especially on this round, as they've lost Aiden very early. Losing the Valkyrie and Fens on that IQ is a perfect foil to half of the gadgets on the side of Envy. And Standby now have some more breathing room, so they can use these operators. As you can see, also the Brava of Eddie, this little trickster up, to take away some of the gadgetry. I'm really digging what Standby's been doing the last couple of rounds.
Yeah, good util clear so far. Opening pick. I mean, there is still going to be a couple of Nitro cells plus a Yokai camera inside the site, so this is not a free plant by any means, but you got 4 smokes that you can flood the site with as well. Bino should have no problem opening up the wall from square and going for this plant. It's very similar to what JJ was doing, but no Osa shield this time around. Here comes the breach, and won't necessarily prompt an immediate push in. They can take their time with this, but every second that passes will start to favor MV more and more, as these Nitros plus Yokais will be what their win condition is.
We'll open up one of those panels, and the second one will now be clear as well, allowing safer passage for Standby to get into this back portion of the map. I'm a little concerned with how much drone work Standby is still doing at this current point in time. I think it just simply points to a lack of information on defenders in the site. Of course, you're going to deal with mute jammers. Of course, you got to account for those Yokais, and there will be Valk cams about. So a lot of things that could complicate this push, but with an IQ and a Brava, you should be able to handle all of this. Standby cannot get bogged down. One logic bomb still remaining for Epic with 30 seconds left. He could do it as the plant goes off, and that's exactly what he's going to do. But all the mute jammers have silenced the phones. Bino attempting the plant. Nitro cell goes out. Snake gets to him first before the explosive can. And it's allowed a contingency for Rival as he's got that Yokai in place. 8 people still alive, and now the guns will come alive as well. Dying moments of the round, Yokai in position. Plant started past the 7-second mark, so you just need to time this one effectively. Knocking him down, JJ shreds through both of them and erupts in cheers as Envy ties things back up. Concerns about Standby running away with it dashed for at least one round.
Parker, that exothermic charge went off at a minute 22. That was when they started to threaten a plant. That's when they could have started to go for it. Again, they had 4 smokes, so they could have faked, got on, got off, got on, got off. But instead, for more than a minute, they ended up just droning, looking for information, trying to get a little bit more of a lead, but they never got it. Instead, they aren't able to commit to a plant until there's less than 30 seconds remaining, and then there's just a Warden with a good angle on it, long range. Snake is able to shut down the plant. I was worried about the Yokai. I was worried about the Nitro. Any of those could have done the job of denying that plant because it ended up starting just so late by Bino. Didn't start putting it on the ground until 24 seconds, which means it wouldn't have been done until, what, 18? Would have been really awkward to get that down. I think it was unlikely from the get-go. Maybe could have played the clock a little bit better, or at least try to get a bit more aggressive during that push, right? Force some of those positions out. You had a couple of players down below who could have maybe walked up spiral, put some pressure onto Snake, done something, but yeah, it does feel like Standby stalled out a little bit in that round. So now we've got two attacks on the board in terms of a sample size. The first was a rush, and it worked perfectly, and the second took 3 minutes to commence, and it was an absolute disaster.
Things get messy. That's just how it works. It's how you thrive in that chaos that shows your ability as a player and your ability as a team to work together. We have seen what? I haven't written this down. We're 8 rounds in. Probably half of the rounds have ended with more than 2 players alive on separate teams. So 1 player on each team would be 2 players on separate teams, obviously. Do you understand what I'm saying? Am I clumsy with my words?
I get what you're saying, Parker.
The timer has honestly determined the result far more than I expected. I think it honestly shows one of 2 things. 1, these teams are very evenly matched, and 2, that they are still learning and growing as teams, which stands to reason. I did not expect one roster move to vault Envy as far up the standings as it has. Standby stuck to the roster entirely, and they're holding their own against the team that started the day in first place.
Emilio's got a nasty Denari set up on the server stairs. If they want to take through server, if they want to plant on this A site, they're going to have to deal with that. Not sure if they're aware that it's there. I would guess that they're not. They might not care. Kendall's coming down through the hatch. There goes JJ, which starts to open up that potential of walking down the staircase. And it'll be Fens to go first.
Rival's next line of defense, and he manages to shoot the Candela at the last second right as you hear its wails behind that server rack. He spies a foot, but he can't really do much beyond that. Fuse shield is a bit odd, but it'll have to work in this instance. Down goes Fens. Eddie died shortly before. They're on the ground trying to push him out of this position. Neither team with an advantage at this point in time. 40 seconds left. The assault from Standby on one of the panels leading into the bomb site. Out will go the smokes. Bino attempting the plant. Does not like that coverage. He hears the nitro cell rip and will heal off for a second. It'll come down to one of the players on Standby shooting as it gets tossed out. It looks like that was the case. Snake jumps up, takes down Kixro, shreds through Bino, but Bino's still standing. The timer will now be the bigger adversary for Envy. Epic and Bino sweeping through, leaving Snake all on his own. He spies the fuse, takes him down, turns towards the hatch, and he and Epic will have a showdown as just out of range of the long arm. Snake still sticking it,
What?
and there's no way for Standby to get there. Envy takes the round and gains the lead.
That is a tragedy. Epic was not on the correct hatch. They knew he was on the site hatch. And so because of that, Snake is able to take a weird angle on the disable, goes inside of lockers instead, inside a server so that you can manage to hold that down. Sure, you're visible from the square hatch, but it doesn't matter. You know he's not on that hatch, nor can he rotate there in time. Instead, Epic has to go for the drop, and there is just a perma stick coming out from Snake. That is massive. Probably maybe the hardest post plant to win as a defender because how strong the hatches are. But numbers were so low and information was so good that Snake was able to make the right decision there and just stick while putting his body deep inside of servers. Nearly a textbook bank basement attack from Standby. They trade 2 for 2, clearing out of server. And I do have to say, the Denari trap for Emilio did do about half damage on defense, so good bit of damage there. He died to a headshot, so it wasn't impactful in the end, but for those keeping track at home. You trade 2 for 2, then you go for the shield plant. The Nitro gets caught on a wall, which is a terrifying reality to be in if you're Snake, but makes up for it in the end. Wins the 1v1, gets the disable off, and manages to win his team the round, meaning they are 1 away from match point. This battle between Envy and Standby has not disappointed, Parker.
No, not at all. It has not been the most beautiful siege, and some of these rounds have been a little questionable. It does not stack up to some higher caliber siege that we've seen. You know, that wild card M80 game that just preceded this, I thought was, with the exception of maybe 1 or 2 rounds, quite competitive, very good. But beyond that, I mean, it doesn't matter if it's beautiful siege. It doesn't matter if it's sophisticated and the most coordinated and the highest brow. We don't need to be sitting here drinking, Moët Chandon, eating caviar. That's not how it works. Sometimes you just want to eat McDonald's and, drink a couple milkshakes. That's really all you want to do. And that's exactly what this game can be. It's good entertainment, and it has been a very entertaining match up to this point, even if there have been mistakes, quite obvious mistakes committed on both sides. They are newer teams. They are learning. They are growing. Snake is learning. that if he decides to deal with Kixero head on, there's going to be some problems. Both of them are dead. And with that, 8 players remain with 2 minutes to go.
You will gleefully take a trade between Oryx and Ram, though. I think Snake is taking that to the bank. Literally, they're playing on bank. In the 4v4, it's going to favor Envy just slightly because of that trade out, and they're going to be a little bit safer in these positions. There's not really a lot of soft breach other than that Ram that was brought. Fens should have a secondary shotgun, and I guess you've got the DMR on Epic as well, but it's really slim pickings. Those players are going to have to get into those positions as well. Epic's goal will instead be to push in through lobby. Vino might be pushing this way as well. There are a lot of players that are kind of aggressive in towards tellers, so they will need to be cleared, but based on that red ping, it seems they have the information.
There go the Candelas, and now the shield will follow up. Bino's been just taking a beating on this roll, a very thankless one, but it's his feet that have been the problem. Fens, the only kill amidst the chaos on the side of Standby. Eddie left on his own as Envy have punished everybody else and worn Standby down. The first half for Standby showed so much promise, and especially when they swapped sides. There was a good look from Standby on that very first attempt, but Envy has been in the driver's seat for the last 5, 6, 7 minutes. They're searching for match point. They only need one more player mounted to their wall, one more trophy to hang up, and it's Eddie. He's got the LMG. He's got 2 Candelas. He's got some hard breach gadgetry. It's possible, Jesse. Admittedly, quite unlikely, but we've seen what should be the impossible happen already today. I referenced that Shopify Rebellion matchup for exactly what you'd expect. Candelas will now go off. Eddie jumps on in, frozen by the Zoto canister, and killed by Aiden. Match point for Envy as they look like they're slowly putting things together on this second half.
For me, it comes back to that Teller's hold being played by both Rival and Emilio. Long-time teammates down inside of Tier 2, working together. One covers one door, the other covers the other. You had thought with the Candelas flying into that room and with the blitz play as well that it was going to be Standby that cleared that out and themselves had the man advantage, but that was not what it was. Instead, just too strong on the defense. Really nice play between those two to set their teammates up. Able to clutch that one out in the end alongside Aiden, of course, who helped close things out. Definitely feels like we've seen the tides turn a bit in this game, Parker. It was neck and neck up until a point. These last couple of rounds have been a little bit sloppier ever since we saw that first rush from Standby. They got their first attack, went up 4-3. Since then, they've gone for slower paced pushes. They've had to play more of the map clear. They've had to play more of the round. And in those little moments, Envy are coming out on top. That previous round was a converted opening pick by Snake, so no problems there. But in both rounds 8 and 9, it was Fens to grab the entry for Standby. And both times they failed to convert that round win. This was a big problem for Standby in the first week. They were the worst conversion team in the North America League, winning only 50% of rounds when they got the opening pick. For most teams, you're looking to be at about 67%, 2/3 for that stat. So it was something I've been watching all game long, and it started off quite good for them on the conversions, but recently, over the last 3 rounds, it's really fallen off.
I think a lot of it really is boiled down to that entry play, and I don't want to thrust this unfairly on Bino, but the fuse into the blitz, it did not really show what you can do on that roll and with that operator. I mean, look at the side of Envy. The operators that they banned are not shield operators. Monty's available, Blitz is available. I was very confused by the fuse pick just because teams keep trying to attempt fuse shield. They keep trying to shoehorn them in. And it never seems to work. And again, we circle back to the conversation. Beautiful shot by Epic, by the way. Aiden had no idea that one was coming. I circle back to the question that we always ask, which is, surely there's something better here than a fuse shield, right? And I feel sadly vindicated most of the time.
Well, there's an entry pick for you. Long range on the rappel is Epic. I've just been talking about how they haven't converted very many of these entries, especially on their attacking side. So this will kind of be the test. Can they break that stat line? Still like the tools in the pockets of Envy, right? They've got JJ Blast on the smoke. No longer have the Warden from Snake, but instead, Rival can play kind of aggressive on this zombie position. Last time they got this wall open at almost the exact same time, and it took them over a minute to plant. I want to say it a little earlier this time, Parker.
I There goes that death mark. Onto the only one that they can find, which was the Azami. Finds some salvation standing on top of the Kiba barrier. Don't see that all that often. He'll shoot through it, but it'll buy some time for Rival, who hasn't quite lost that protection just yet, but is still being tracked down by that little flying gadget that's now flown away. Final minute of a critical round for both teams. Envy has a nest egg, so things will not go completely kaput if they lose here, but they want to close it out. They are outnumbered. They're getting hunted down. Rival in a terrible spot, finished off. Bino quarterbacking what will be the execute as he holds on to that case. Fens is down below too. He's got Snake and JJ Blast as options for that final death mark. The MPs will go off, Logic Bomb will go off, Envy's position's revealed. They find themselves on their back foot as Bino takes a little bit of damage from the gas. Attempting the defuse plant, there's nobody there to shut him down. Bino will be able to get this one done, and with it, it extends the round from 13 seconds up to 45. Eddie with a nice two-piece, fends the final kill, and a flawless round for Standby to push us all the way.
Again, a slow round, but this time, Parker, they're doing good work with their time, okay? Rival on the Azami was the biggest threat there. Yes, you had to worry about the toxic babes from JJ, but there were no nitro cells on the board that time from Envy, and Snake, who is still playing over towards Checkers, was no longer on the Warden. Those were the big threats to your plant the last time you went for this push. Envy chose not to bring them this time around, instead focusing on a bit more aggressive play from Rival. And while it took you a good bit of time to clear Rival out of that spot, eventually Fens on the Deimos down below got the job done, killed Azami. Now it's a 5v3 advantage. Now there's nothing to stop your plant. Bino avoided walking into the smoke, got a good plant down, and that was a really solid cover from Eddie out on the windows. So perfectly played on the side of Standby. Shows that they don't have to go for a rush just to get an attacking round win. They can make these slow executes work, but they've got to be getting something for every second that they waste. They've got to make sure they're clearing out positions, getting kills, getting man advantage. They will have one more opportunity to do that, and it is do or die. Otherwise, 3 points will go the way of Envy.
Envy still sits in second place with all of these games that have gone on today, and their position at the top is not really in jeopardy. I suppose it comes down to the OXG results here. But yeah, I mean, Envy will secure 1 point at minimum, which will tie them with Shopify Rebellion on the top. But I mean, a 3-0 start for Envy. I don't think there's enough proper words to be able to talk about it, Jesse. It's just... You got a team that was still learning, still finding their footing, but ultimately got 4 points in stage one. They had a victory and then an overtime loss against Shopify Rebellion. Their only victory was against what? Team Cruelty, if memory serves correctly. Like this, they were not a particularly good team, and they were a new team. We are in Pro League. We are in the top of the top. We don't treat all of these teams with kid gloves because we expect that once you make it to this point, you can handle criticism. But sometimes you do need to scale back proper criticism just so you don't seem too mean.
Yeah.
When two teams are playing poorly, you don't want to focus on the negatives. You want to focus on the positives that you've seen, which is why, despite there being multiple rounds of this particular series that really should not have gone the way that they went, you have to focus on the things that are good. Envy right now are just destroying their expectations from stage one. It's been excellent to see, and I love that both of these teams have shown marked growth over the last couple play days.
In the history of the North America League, nobody has ever failed to get top 6 after finishing the second playday in first place. That goes back to year 1, season 1 in the Pro League days. So Envy already in a good spot, and it gets better. Rival in the Rome game finds the head of Eddie playing on that Azami, gets the entry. Snake with a Nitro finds the second one too, Parker. It's going to be all on this Fuse Shield plus the cover of Epic and Fens to make a plant happen to win this round. All those roamers will retreat back to site, and it is desperation mode for Standby.
I did not love this Fuse Shield when I saw it the first time. I do not love it again. I especially don't love it now that he is in an often unsupported position. Losing 2 of your best utility operators. You've lost your smokes, you've lost your flashbangs. You have really nothing going for you at this point. The ability to get into the bomb site the ability to cut off vision from your opponents is gone. It's a straight shot, really. They'll use what remains of the smokes towards the back of the site to allow Bino safer entry in, and the flames will go out. Bino impervious to damage at the moment. It looks like these Molotovs have missed, and they've allowed Bino to pull this one off. A blunder from JJ Blast & Co. as Standby have walked into the Lion's Den and emerged alive with their life intact. JJ Blast picked apart by Epic on that hatch. Standby now just needs to sit back. 2 bodies thrown at the problem upstairs. Epic will pop up, and with that DMR can easily shred both of them. It's Bino as well, looking for the cross, playing the Kiba barrier. Epic's position given away. They've plugged the door off. 2 players on the side of Standby watching this duel. Why are you not on the case? Snake has an opportunity to do just that. Can they get to him in time? Snake being bought by Epic, and Snake will do it again! Pros don't fake 2.0. Envy close it out in regulation.
Oh, goodness, Parker. Snake is the man to get it done. The MVP in their first game, and while those disables may not get tracked on the stats that people watch, absolutely critical for winning this game for Envy. Fantastically done by him. There was some missed Tachanka fire from JJ Blast, so that's a win for Desert 2, I guess. But in the end, it's a more important win for Envy. They get a huge victory and will be now, 9 points in the NAL? Yep. That is insane.
9 points is really quite a crazy total. 11 points was the cutoff for playoffs last time. Envy's almost there. Let's see what the desk has to say about this after the break. We'll be right back.
Canton and printer.
Canton and printer.
Canton and printer.
Pull that. Nice, hold one more.
Save me!
Yeah! Oh my god! Wow!
Wow! Let's go, bro.
Good shit. Good fucking shit.
Too close of a game, but we win it. That's all that matters.
Yeah, far from ideal, but we won in the end. All that matters.
Nikki, bro.
A win is a win. Far from ideal, but this is all that matters. And I love that mentality because Envy has genuinely leveled up throughout this stage so far. JJ Blast, we're gonna have to really dig deep here, and maybe you can give us a bit more of an answer as to, first of all, congratulations, by the way, another win under your belt. What has changed from stage 1 to stage 2? What have you guys been focusing on?
Right now, I'm really comfy, if you can tell, my feet up. I think I might run this league, but we'll see with time. Anyway, change from stage 1 to stage 2 is we're a completely different team. We've transformed in a lot of areas. We take our practice a lot more seriously. We're able to double scrim now, VOD review. We're not working jobs. So we were just handicapped by the circumstances of life last stage. And this stage, this is our job. We give this our everything all day. We're grinding out. We're talking about how to improve things. We can actually use the things our analyst, he gives us statistics, and we can actually improve upon them now. So yeah, and then also obviously Aiden's a huge addition to the team. So I mean, a lot to fix still. I mean, today's game was very, like I said, far from ideal, very sloppy. But I mean, a win's a win.
A lot of changes for the positive, of course. I also see that you have a jersey of this random player.
So Aiden said he was a Rec fan, but he isn't a real Rec fan because I've been a fan since the beginning, and I had a favorite pro growing up. That's my GOAT right there. You know, Fox, you were cool, but you didn't hold a flank with Thatcher like Lax did. So I had to show some respect.
You weren't
to the
baiting
vet
like
today.
me.
And you dropped him on his head, and then it all went downhill.
Right, you should have heard all those times Lax was on the flank, dude, there's 4 on me, and then we hit sight, and there's 5 people in sight.
I will not forget the clip that Skies posted where you were like, Lax, do something.
Yeah, that was funny. If we group it back up to this game, though, obviously we want to know from the IGL himself that last round, the retake masterclass. You can talk about at the start of letting them get that plant off. I want to know, what was going on there. But then walk us through the rest of that retake and what the game plan was from you guys.
Yeah, so the plant shouldn't have went down. That's us being an inexperienced team. After we got that 5v3, that round's unlosable. We have Smoke, Tachanka, Nitros, right? And we were just frantically calming every gap that could exist, right? And just making the game so much more complicated than it had to be. And we kind of missed the audio cues on them going for plant, so it was a good read by them. That was their only win con. But once they got the bomb down, we've been practicing this a lot in the off season and stuff. If they get the bomb down, it's fine. Like, let's reset, take 5 seconds, and figure out a plan. So we figured out a plan. We sent 2 guys above. We had the 2 guys lurking through sight, and then Snake's just like stone cold with the diffuses. Like, he doesn't flinch.
Hey, pros don't fake. Obviously, again, congratulations on yet another win. You guys are meeting expectations on all fronts. I was very critical of what you guys were doing last stage versus this stage. It's been a night and day difference, as you've said. I kind of want to talk about, going from each game. Doesn't matter who your opponent is. Are you guys learning and taking, whether you're winning these matches or not, are you taking from those and then applying it into the next just to make sure everything is concrete through and through?
Yeah, definitely. Like, we're definitely trying to work on like a transition from last game to this game. The C9 game was, I think we went 2-10 on entry in the C9 game. Like, we were just getting entry picked every round, but we fought all the rounds back mostly. But like this week, like in practice, we made a better effort to not get hard as entry picked as hard. I think we had a decent day. We probably went like 50-50 on entries today.
I got another sorry.
Yeah,
Don't mean to cut you up. I was going to say, obviously with you being the IGL going from stage 1 to stage 2, I am curious kind of what has been the biggest thing that you have improved on since from stage 1 to stage 2 that is obviously replicating success now for you guys back to back to back.
I think composure. I think we're not like, we still have like glimpses where on that last round with the plant, but I think we're a lot more calm in these rounds, and like we're a lot more like focused and not stressing out. I kind of learned when people get the game day, people just start like shaking and playing like scared.
Right.
So we're just like using that to our advantage. Like, we watch like all these VODs back, and like people are just like taking extra time than they would in scrims. So just kind of like using that to our advantage, and just like that was like our biggest thing, just like kind of growing as players, and like not like feeling like the weight of the round is not in your hands, like solely in your hands. Like, you have 4 other teammates. You don't have to be a hero every round.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you so much, JJ, for the insights. And again, congratulations. You guys really have
Thank you.
leveled up. Maybe that jersey that you got on the bed is your lucky jersey. Maybe you should put it in the wash if he did ever wear it. I would recommend.
Nah.
Did you buy that or did I give you that?
Nah, I bought that when I was like
good,
16.
because I was about to say, then you definitely got to wash that.
Nah. I'll see you in Munich. You can sign it for me. Deal?
Ooh,
wow.
okay.
Predictions for the future. I like it.
I love the confidence.
I'll give you one of mine.
You know what? You've earned it. Congrats once again, and we'll see you probably around for another interview.
Thank you so much. Have a good one,
Bye.
guys.
Have a good night.
He's always a blast to have on there. I guess that's why he's JJ Blast.
He's a JJ Blast.
But I mean, honestly, to be able to close it out, get these necessary points, it's paying dividends in terms of what this can look like. Sure, we're only in week 2, play day 3, but the fact of the matter that they're sitting now at 9 points, it really is paying dividends of them making a final.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it really comes down to Envy's ideology of understanding what the win condition is. All throughout that match, it looked like a completely different Envy than we saw in week 1. They were playing very slow, methodical, trying to force Standby to go for executes, playing the denial. The half-half split was, pretty good. I really liked the way that JJ was using the Blackbeard, forcing Standby to have to ban out all 3 shields. So, we've seen players like Spirits, when you have to forcefully worry about just Spirits, you just have to worry about JJ Blast on the shields. You take it out of the equation. Now, sky's the limit. They can play so many different operators, and every single round on their defenses is what I want to commend, because the understanding of what's coming, how to stop it, that's something that veteran leadership and JJ Blast himself has to be the main carrier behind it. So him knowing that he's got 4 other teammates behind him that he can split that weight with, and all he has to do is call, makes it that much more exciting to watch.
It's also really important here to highlight Standby LFO, because this is another game that they were able to push over to OT. So although they're not winning these games, they are still getting some points. And I think it also speaks a lot about how much this roster has grown and their resilience as well.
It definitely is something to commend them on keeping it close. In my opinion, I'm not really sold too much on Standby and their performance so far, and them being better than they were last stage, because we're going to have to see how the outcome is at the end after so many more matches. But that being said, it is a good start in the right direction for a team that was at the bottom of the leaderboard stage 1, but still, so much more improvement needs to be done.
And if you want to get some of this competitive experience yourself as well, starting September 19th, Rally is up on the board. There will be game nights every week from Friday to Sunday, where participants will be queued individually into teams, and they'll be gaining points to get onto that leaderboard based off of their performances. So for teams that are participating, there is the Rally Cup as well. If you have a total of 4 friends, crazy, by the way, but that's awesome. And they're going to be every 2 weeks on Saturdays. And there's a $10,000 prize pool that will be distributed across the game nights, the Rally Cups, and the Rally Points final. If you want to learn more about this, make sure that you join the Rally Point Discord, or you can go over to radiant.gg/R6 Rally Point.
Are you LFT for this, for the Rally Point?
Sorry, I don't play in NA.
I mean, you always could try. You never know.
Hey, you're here right now. What's stopping you?
I got no setup, bro. But, you know.
Excuses.
That's what I'm saying. Either way, we have one more game left today, and that is SSG against OXG. Both of these rosters are looking to prove themselves once again. So we'll see who's going to be coming out on top in our last game of the day. That's coming up after the break.